YouTube, and hope that's okay.
I'll try not to say anything too stupid, you know?
Well, it's funny because it's funny because occasionally people have totally forgotten, and they've said, all right, now nobody can tweet this or nobody can post anything about this, but that actress was a real, whatever. Okay, well, no one's going to post it or tweet it, but we are live on YouTube right now.
Oh, we're live. Cool. Very cool.
But no one watches it. I mean, we don't tell anyone that. I mean, we don't tell anyone that it's live. It just is recording. I mean, one day maybe we can do that, but we can always just edit things out, so that's possible. Tyler Spindel, welcome to UVU.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you so much for doing this. We're going to give them a round of applause. A nice little group here. A lot of laughs throughout the productions.
Well, we actually intended it to be a drama, so that's the surprise.
Oh, crap. Well, you know what? I mean, I thoroughly enjoy the movie. I've always loved David Spade.
Oh, yeah, he's the best.
And I just think he's a great actor. I've always thought he was just a great actor, and he doesn't get credit for that very much.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, but he's great. So my first questions before we get to the movie, I want to go through your life a little bit.
Yeah.
Because just in my minimal amount of research about you, the thing that I was most interested in is that one of your earliest credits on IMDb is as a PA on an Adam Sandler film.
Yes.
So it seems like somehow you got into that circle and it just kind of climbed a ladder. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that?
I mean, it's honestly, unfortunately, just about knowing people, and just like slowly building and just meeting people and just kind of, you just got to like meet people as much as you can and just like, you kind of become friends with everybody and then they like you and then they kind of look at your stuff a little bit. And then as a lot of my stuff in the beginning really stunk, and I'm kind of lucky that they didn't write me off initially. But yeah, it's like, you just kind of, and it's funny, like the people I met PAing on that, I still work with. Like one of the guys who was a PA with me on that is now an agent for cinematographers, and he, gets me a lot of my DPs and stuff. So it's kind of funny. The people you start with, you end up working with, in my case, I still work with a lot of the people. Yeah.
So you're from New Hampshire. I know Adam's from New Hampshire. Did you have a connection to him to start things out with somehow?
Well,
family or something like that? Or
yeah, I mean, he's my uncle, so it made a little.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So I'm sorry. If any of you guys have a famous uncle, it makes it easier.
That's funny. I had no idea. Yeah, that just ruined that narrative.
Sorry. I wasn't sure if I should bring that up. I thought it's a better story without him. But
no, it's great. It's great. We, Perry has been really cool with us, and we've and by in the sort of whole Happy Madison family in that circle, we go out to LA and
cool.
Gone out there and hung out there, and so lots of cool guys. And I sort of feel like making movies there is a little bit of an excuse just to hang out with a bunch of friends. Does that kind of has that vibe? Is that true? I mean, or not?
I don't know if it's an excuse to hang out with friends, but we like to work with people we like, and like, and in comedy especially, like people who get along are typically funnier together, and people who have known each other forever often have better timing together and they have better chemistry. So, I think that's why, Adam works with a lot of the same guys, because they understand each other's timing and they know how to work off each other. They know how, what the other people like. And, but yeah, I mean, it is important too. You spend so much time with these people that you want to hang out with people that you like, especially if like, Happy Madison uses probably 80% the same crew on every single one of their movies.
Yeah, you were talking performance. I was about to say that goes to the crew as well, though.
Yeah, the crew. I mean, Perry's done probably every Adam movie, every Happy Madison movie for the past 20 years almost, since Happy Gilmore, I think.
I think so, yeah. So Perry is the production designer, and he's a guy who has connections to UVU. And to me, separate of UVU. So we have a mutual friend. I don't know how he knows them. I think they're cousins. So,
oh, really? Cool.
Something like that. But
so yeah, I mean, they've used the same editor for probably 20 years. The same, it's unbelievable. The same prop guy. It's but you work with people a lot, and it's kind of like what I was saying before, where you come up with people, you kind of know what you like, and you start to get a common understanding of things. It just makes it easier. So I think that's why they do it.
So this is your first film as that you directed.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, feature, because you've done some great shorts.
Yes.
But tell me about, well, why don't we talk about that? Why don't you talk a little bit about your shorts and making shorts, and why you did that, and how, I mean, what was your kind of vision as you kind of started things?
Yeah, I mean, I started out just shooting shorts for YouTube and just actually it was MySpace. I'm kind of dating myself, but I started in college. Me and my buddies would just shoot shorts at school, and I don't know, I think like we probably shot like 30, 40 shorts, and most of them, it's funny when you start like this, when you start, most of your stuff is not great, but every time you get a little bit better, you learn a little something more. And then eventually, you kind of figure out yourself, and you figure out what you're good at. And so, yeah, we probably shot maybe 40, and then I got lucky that one of them came out pretty good. And then, it got some views, and then I was able to meet some of the MySpace people. And then they ended up, featuring a couple of my things, and, whatever. It's like little steps, and you just kind of keep shooting. And that was like great advice that Adam gave me, was like, you just got to shoot. He goes, it doesn't matter if it's bad or good, you got to keep shooting. You got to be writing like every week. You got to write something new, and just like, don't do the same old thing. Just keep doing new stuff and challenge yourself. Because he said, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you won't get any better. And so, yeah, I mean, I just kind of started out just shooting a ton, and then I would just write a lot. I wrote, script after script that never got made. And, I shot a lot of stuff that I never posted either. But, and then I moved out to LA, had some better luck with some shorts, and, was able to get an agent. And then I started doing some TV. I showed Chelsea Lately for a few years, which was a lot of fun. And that was like kind of where I learned a lot of my chops, because we would shoot we'd shoot almost 2 to 3 shorts a day for the show, and it was live. So they would come up with an idea in the morning, and then we'd have to put it together and shoot it and then edit it, and we'd have to be done by 3:30 in the afternoon. It would be on TV that night. And it was like really, it was hard. It was really, really hard, but it kind of taught you how to think fast, and, to trust your instincts, and it makes you a lot better. And so after that, I just kind of, kept shooting, and did like I did like the Jack and Triumph show, which was on Adult Swim, and I did some YouTube shows called Sing It, and it's kind of other random stuff, and then finally I got to get a movie going.
So tell me about, because you have a lot of credit as second unit director, which is stunt director or something like that. What particularly were you doing? So
as second unit, I pretty much do everything or whatever the main actors aren't in. So if it's helicopter beauty shots, or it's stunts, or it's any sort of action sequence, inserts, it's pretty much any. And then like sometimes if they don't have time, like on these bigger movies, if they don't have time to shoot everything, they'll drop a little piece of a scene, and they'll move on. They'll say, we shot The Master, we shot most of the coverage. We need one single on one person. This is what it's supposed to be. Don't screw it up. Just, here, pick up this single. They basically move on. They leave me with a camera. Right. And, I just basically finish out something. But it really depends on what the movie is, and how well they're doing on schedule. Because honestly, if they're behind, then I have more stuff to do. But if they're on schedule, then I really don't have much to do. And it's kind of,
you're just there doing whatever they need.
Exactly. But typically it's stunts, helicopter shots, beauty shots. But it's also just whatever they need. Okay.
Cool. What about, so tell me then, let's move on to Father of the Year. So, I mean, did you film in New Hampshire?
We filmed it in Massachusetts because of the tax rebate. I think it's like 25 or 30%.
Right. Yeah.
But we tried to make it look like New Hampshire as much as we could.
And I mean, you made this specific town. I'm wondering about things like the wife Carrie and stuff like that. Are these based on real things?
Yeah, the wife Carrie is a real thing that they do in Maine. That's where we got the idea. It's a big thing in the Northeast. So we saw it one day. We're like, man, we got to do a scene about that. And that was actually like the wife Carrie I don't know if you can tell from watching it, but shooting that was like the one big problem we had, because we only had a day and a half to shoot it. The whole shoot was 25 days, so it was fast. But we only had a day and a half to shoot it, and right as we were about to shoot, there was a whole basically the big set piece of the wife carry was everybody was supposed to tumble down this giant hill. We went to this big ski mountain to shoot it.
Yeah.
We spent like 3 hours setting up for this whole big stunt set piece, and then somebody found poison ivy on the hill, and so we couldn't shoot it because, if there's poison ivy on the hill, so one person gets it, it could be a real problem. And so we had to scrap the whole scene and basically rewrite it on the fly as the sun was going down. And it was really crazy. That was probably the most stressed I've ever been, but hopefully nobody can tell the difference. And it was pretty crazy, but yes, it was based on a real thing.
Excellent. So we've got a group of people here.
Cool.
Who are going to come up and ask questions. So why don't you just start coming up? And I'm going to ask one more. When you guys come up and yeah, go ahead, and there's a little camera here that you can adjust in case you're short, and tell him your name so that he knows who he's talking to. And I'm going to actually she came up right here real quick. I'm going to let her go, and I've got some questions I'll probably finish up with. Thank you so much for being here. And
Great.
Okay. My name's Bailey. My question, so I noticed there's a lot of stunts in this movie. Is that like one of your things? Like, do you like stunts a lot, or?
I really like physical comedy. I feel like a lot of people kind of don't really like physical comedy. I'm one of the people who does. So I tried to put as much physical comedy in as possible. I always try to think about like what's going to be in the trailer or what's going to be visually. Yeah. So yeah, there are a lot of stunts, and I'm glad we got to do them. They take a lot of time. Is the only problem. Like stunts kind of ate up most of our shooting time, and then we really had to race through the dialogue. So that's the only tough thing about stunts, is they take forever. But
another question: does it affect the budget at all? Do stunts like that?
Yeah, they are expensive, and so that's kind of, it was interesting. We had a lot of discussions about if it was worth it, because they ate up most of the budget, and then we really had to squeeze a lot of other stuff. But people seem to like the stunts, so I think it was worth it. But yeah, we got a great stunt coordinator. We spent a lot of money getting him. His name's Jeff Dashnow. He's done like The Equalizer. He's done everything, and so that was really important to us.
Yeah, it seems like it really was a big part of the movie. I really liked it.
Oh, good.
Okay, cool. That's all.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hey, so I had a question about Adam. My name's Adam. I had a question about there's two bits that really had me rolling. The bit where he's blowing on his nipples was hysterical. The setup and everything that went into that was amazing. And then as well as that whole laundry sequence where he's rubbing his beard on his back. Hysterical. I just wanted to get into your mind about the writing of those bits.
We just try to think of the craziest things possible, and just me and my buddy who I went to high school with wrote it together. Okay. And we just keep trying to think of crazier and crazier and crazier things, and if we don't both laugh at it, then we don't use it. But yeah, I mean, the nipple thing, we just kind of we're trying to think of the most ridiculous thing possible. And then with the downstairs drug scene, that character's the Marty character is based off my father, and so we were trying to think of what would be the stupidest thing to see my dad do. Where that came from.
That's awesome. I have one more question.
Yeah.
What was it like working with Bridget? I mean, she was incredible.
She's a 10. I mean, she's easy. She's so easy. She gets everything. She gets every beat, which is kind of unique for somebody of that age. I mean, you almost don't even have to give her notes. It's very, honestly, when you work with somebody that talented, it's very easy. You don't have to do anything as a director. She just does it. Yeah. And so she was great. I mean, we feed her a lot of alt lines. She's a great improver too. I mean, she's a 10. If you ever get a chance to work with her, I would highly, highly recommend it.
Yeah, I loved. She had a moment when he said that he was going to go and interview for the job, and her look on her face like changed so slightly, but you know what she was feeling. I was like, wow, it was amazing.
She's just a good actress. You know, she's just a really good actress. So I mean, I hear, you know, a lot of, like, in my opinion, making a good movie is all in prep. It's all getting the right. It's all casting. You know, because you can just get the right people, then, you know, you guide them along, but they do a lot of it for you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey,
how are
you? My question is, what was your favorite part of making this film?
Ooh, editing, definitely. I love editing. It's I love seeing it all come together, and it's like kind of seeing all your hard work pay off. Actually, screening it was fun. That was the most fun, actually, because you get to see what works, what doesn't, and then you go back and you try to change it, you make it better. Yeah, editing after a screening is always really fun because you get to see, like, you know, what you got to make better. It's always a challenge. It's like putting a puzzle together.
I like it. And then my other question was, what originally made you want to go into film?
Well, you know, I had, you know, my uncle was obviously in the bit. I came out. I came out and I spent a summer with him, and then, like, I just kind of fell in love with everything, and that was it. You know, I think I was 16, and I went to set one time, and I was just like, oh my god, I got to do this, and that was it. I started out as a stand-up, though. I started out doing stand-up and acting, but I was really quite a terrible actor, and so then I was like, maybe I'll be better at directing, and so I think I was a little better, but I just love films. I mean, I've seen thousands and thousands of movies. I watch everything. Like, that would be one thing. Is you got to watch everything, good and bad. It's just as important to watch bad stuff as good, just so you know, like, what's working versus not working. Foreign films, everything. You know.
That's good to know. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
My name's Quentin. I took some notes and I had a few questions. Text messaging is really new for films, and I noticed that a lot of newer films show, like, the bubble. Was that a way to kind of show? What was your idea on that? Showing that?
Honestly, we shot the phone screens as inserts, and then when we were watching the cut, it just felt like it was taking too long and it was boring. And it was taking, it'd take maybe 10 seconds to read the text message, and do you really want to be looking at a phone screen for 10 seconds? It's, you know, visually it's pretty boring. So we just were like, hey, maybe let's just do bubbles, you know, so that way we're looking at something that's a little more interesting and you still get the same information across. But yeah, shooting texting is, you know, kind of a new challenge, which I don't know if I fully cracked either, but that's why we went with bubbles, because we just thought that the inserts were boring.
Awesome. I also, a lot of the comedy was big stunts, but then there was a lot of subtle jokes. Like, there was breakfast for dinner.
Yeah.
Which I found that very interesting. And did you expect people to notice that, or was that for your own humor?
Well, I don't know. You know, that's something we used to always do. We'd go to my dad's house and have breakfast at night. You know, we'd all, after we go out, you know, we'd come over with my friends, and, you know, it's like, I don't know, we'd like throw in little things and like to see if anybody ever noticed. You assume that nobody ever will, but cool that you noticed.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, so, you know, we just try to throw in things, and, you know, maybe somebody picks up on it.
Okay, cool. What is your relationship with your father?
It's good, you know. I mean, he still doesn't realize that the character's about him. But it's funny. He called me up. He's like, "Oh, I really like that Nat Faxon guy. He's funny. That character." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." But yeah, it's good. We have a good relationship. And the other dad is based off my buddy Brandon's dad, who we wrote it together.
Oh, perfect.
Because his dad, in high school, his dad wanted to fight my dad.
What?
Yeah, it was based off kind of something that happened with us. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
My last question is, which films inspired you?
Oh man, so many. I mean, obviously all the Sandler movies I've seen a million times. My favorite comedy is Dumb and Dumber. I mean, I love Dumb and Dumber. Napoleon Dynamite. God, there's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, Batman, the old Batman trilogy is probably my favorite series of movies, like The Dark Knights. But God, I don't know. That's hard. But I love, probably Dumb and Dumber.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Emily, and I'm listening to all these questions, and we're talking about script writing in class. How long, if you've been having these stories going since high school,
Yeah.
how long did they, are you adjusting? Oh, thank you. How long, okay, this is something for because we asked this about Napoleon Dynamite. How long did you spend working on the script? You had a co-writer. Did you do something like an outline with this at the beginning?
Yeah, so we spent probably so we come up with the idea. We're just shooting around ideas. Usually what we do is me and my buddy brainstorm. We do a Google Doc and we brainstorm as many ideas as we can. And then we go back and look at it and we're like, oh, maybe that'd be a fun movie. Maybe that'd be a fun movie. And then we outline a couple of them. And then we kind of look at the outlines and we say, oh, that one's cool, that one's not. We kind of weed them out. And then if we have one that we feel like is popping, we kind of push forward and we'll write that one. Usually what we do is this is like a very kind of improv comedy style of writing, but we'll do a basic outline and then we'll brainstorm like a million scenes. And then, we'll kind of go through and see what we think is funny. And then we kind of go back and we re-outline it with those new scenes. And see, to say, oh, maybe this will be a funny set piece. That'll be a funny set piece. We figure out the characters, the arcs, and stuff like that before. But we do really intensive outlines, and then we write it. And honestly, on this one, we probably spent 7 months writing it, and then the producers threw out most of the first draft, actually. And we started pretty much from scratch. And so it was 7 months of work down, but that happens all the time. And then so it was probably total a year, over a year of writing, which was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. But sorry, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead. I interrupt a lot.
No. But yeah, we outline really heavily, and we actually write a lot of the joke. We figure out the jokes before we actually get into the script. But everybody's different, some people just write and that's better for them. But for our process, we like to really beat by beat figure out what's going to happen.
Especially if it's improv comedy, because you're just all about timing. Okay. So if you scrapped everything, well, was that gut wrenching? So
oh my God, it was horrible. It was horrible. It was so hard because we had a shoot date already locked in because we had the cast already, Spade had already said yes, and we knew we had to shoot, in July, and we're just, so it was literally 24/7 at their offices. When I say 24/7, we were there probably 16 hours a day, 7 days a week until we got the script done. Yeah, it was nuts. But it was great. It was so much fun. We got to make a movie.
Yes. Okay, so that first 7 months, was that about a typical work day of 8 hours, or were you spreading it out where you were in a comfortable area compared to when you had to rewrite it and that was twice as much time putting in?
Yeah, what we would do is we usually start in the morning and then we work as long as we can until we burn out and we feel like we're not coming up with good ideas anymore. And we usually take a 2 hour, what we would do is my friend Brandon would come over. We would work here for maybe 4 or 5 hours or whatever it take, and then we take a break, go work out or eat or whatever, and then we do the second session over Skype. And so we kind of feel that double sessions are better because you get a break in between, and so you get to start fresh. And with us, we always find that our best ideas come in the first 2 hours, and then after that we start to get a little silly and a little wacky, and it's not as good. But everybody's different, I think you really just got to figure out how you write best, and when you get your best. If you're a morning thinker, write in the morning. If you're a night thinker, write at 2 a.m.
Okay, thank you. Oh wait, this is just an idea. Did you ever, when you're coming up with these jokes, tell them to your uncle what do you think about this?
Yeah, of course, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, all that. Yeah, and then he goes yes or no. And
Yes or no? Yes, I'll do this. No. Okay.
exactly. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Man, I'm short.
No.
Hey, Tyler.
Hey,
I'm Jacob.
hey, Jacob.
You're good.
It can't go any lower.
You can.
Okay.
We'll make you look tall.
Oh, yes. All right. So I loved your movie, by the way.
Thank you.
I was wondering, when you're done screening it and you're done with the whole premiere and the project's totally wrapped up, what are you currently working on?
So we are almost done another script, and the movie did well, so Netflix will hopefully be open to me taking them another thing. So we're gonna bring them another project, and hopefully they want it. So yeah, basically you have an agent and he sends you scripts, or my agent sends me scripts, and so probably over the past 2 months I've maybe read like 50 scripts, and just like looking for that fresh idea is really what we're doing. But yeah, we have one that we wrote that we're almost done writing too, so I don't know, maybe we'll see.
Awesome.
And then yeah, so that's what's next. And I do commercials too on the side and TV and stuff, but my first, I love to do movies.
That's awesome. I was just curious to know, because I would definitely like to see things from you in the future.
All right, well, follow me on Instagram, and I usually post on everything, and so you can check it out. Tyler Spindel Films, so you can just watch that.
Gotta remember that. Okay. One other question. What was probably the hardest part about filming this for you personally?
It was definitely the schedule. It was a tough movie to shoot in 25 days because of the stunts and all the sequences, like shooting that roof sequence when they're running around on the roof at night. It was really challenging because of all the safety issues. We had to build a fake roof set to shoot that, because we couldn't get the actors all the way up there. So it was it really just wasn't enough time, but that's something you always run into. It's like, there's never enough money, there's never enough time. So you just gotta do your best, but it was hard. It was, the days we couldn't go over 12 hours because we didn't have extra money. And we had to, some scenes you have to rush through a little bit, where others, and sometimes things just happen that are out of your control, like rain, like we lost a day to rain, and that's just like a killer when you don't have an extra, when you can't go over budget.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Okay, I'm back.
Okay.
It's Bailey again.
Yeah.
So my question, I had a teacher in high school, and I always thought he was kind of crazy because he would write these like kind of long, like a description for like a movie he wanted to make, and he would show them to me, and I'd go, oh yeah, and he would like choose actors ahead of time and be like, I want this person to play that. Did you do that with your, did you choose like Bridget Mendler, or like?
Yes, I find it always easier to write when you have an actor in mind. It's like you can just think of their voice, and a lot of times we'll you think of an actor, but then you don't get that actor, and then so you got to rewrite the character for somebody else. But I guess we did kind of write that with her in mind, actually. But we wrote the Wayne character with Spade in mind, and then the other guy with Matt Faxon in mind, Marty with Matt Faxon in mind. But yeah, I think it's a lot easier, when you're right. I think that's a great tool, actually, is to just think of their voice, and then makes it a lot easier.
Okay. So then, how do you exactly get the actors you want? Like, do you have to have the right budget, or how do you do that?
Yeah. Well, it was a little easier for this one because we knew Dave. Oh, sorry, did I just lose you guys?
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Did you lose us?
Sorry, hold on.
We're here. Did you lose us?
Yeah. Can you hear?
I can hear you. I can't see you, but that's okay. I'll just talk.
Hold on just a sec. Let me just try something, and then try it again. Are we back?
Let's see. You were in a video call. Huh.
That's weird.
Maybe if I hang up, should I hang up and call you back?
Don't hang up, because don't hang up, because we're recording this. So I think we'll come back somehow. Let's
All right,
try.
hold on 1 second. I think that was my computer. Oh, here we are. Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, hold on. Now we're looking at ourselves instead of you.
Okay, sorry. What was the question again?
I was asking
Getting talent.
how do you get the
Okay, get the actors. Okay, so listen, I mean, it was easier for me because I knew David Spade for a long time. So, you know, honestly, a lot of it's personal relationships. Like, if you can meet one of these actors and, you know, show them your stuff and say, hey, you know, would love to work with you at some point, and they like your stuff, that's kind of the easiest way to do it. Other than that, you know, you go after, you have casting sessions, and you look for people, and you just keep looking. And then, like with Matt Faxon, I didn't know him, but we made an offer to his agents. And that's kind of like a budget thing. Like, do you have enough money where they'll consider the project, or did he really like the script? Like, you also got to make friends with agents too, like, and managers, and so that they'll support the movie to their clients. So it's really about networking. Honestly, I hate to say it, because I hate networking, but you know, like, if you want to get into comedy, if you want to like do a comedy, what I would recommend is hanging out at stand-up comedy clubs or at improv shows and getting to meet all the young comedians, because eventually they're going to be the ones on TV. And you know, like, everybody starts somewhere, and usually the good people start at, like, you know, if you come to LA, like the Laugh Factory or the Comedy Store, you know, or Groundlings. So what I would recommend is, if you guys ever go to New York, Boston, Chicago, and I'm sure there's, you know, stuff around you guys too, is just start meeting everybody, because, you know, in like a couple of years, they'll like TJ Miller, who was in my short, like, I met him when we were 18, and we did stand up together, and we just kind of became friends before he was really, you know, doing anything. And then and then he became big, and so, you know, he did my thing for me.
Okay. Another question. Whenever you were writing your scripts, were you paid for that, or did you just take work off?
Yeah, well, yeah, so it's hard. Yeah, I was not paid until the movie got made. I actually didn't get paid until 2 days before we started shooting. It's like, you know, but it depends on each case. Like, TV's actually, you kind of got to save your money when you make it. Honestly, you know, when you make it, just don't spend it. And then, you know, but some people take day jobs until they can, you know, afford to, you know, until they make enough money on writing. But, like, you know, if you're going to take a day job, you know, try to just get something that's flexible. The hours aren't too bad. It doesn't burn you out too much, so that when you come home, you still got the brain power to write.
Oh, cool. And then one more thing. When you guys got the shots of New York, did you have to get a permit or anything, or was that just
stock footage?
So what is
that? Was like Getty Images.
Really?
We just bought those shots. Somebody else shot them, and we just enhanced them a little bit. We did a little bit of VFX on them to make them look a little better.
And was that a lot cheaper then?
Yeah, it was a lot cheaper because shooting in New York is expensive. And I typically do those type of shots for other movies, but, you know, getting a helicopter, getting a camera, it's really expensive, and you can get pretty good shots on Getty Images. If I had my druthers, I wouldn't do that and I would shoot it, but, you know, it's a lot of money, and we just decided for, you know, a couple $1,000s, it was a good deal to get these shots, as opposed to spending 50, you know, going and getting a helicopter and a camera and a whole crew and everything.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's all for me. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, oh gosh.
Oh, I got it right here for all you guys.
That's okay.
Just line you up in order of height.
Is that good? Yeah.
Yeah,
my name's Eric. My question is, when working as a director, working with an actor or in comedian like David Spade and everyone else in the cast, how much creative liberty do you give them to improvise, or do you stay strict to what you have in the script?
Well, every shoot is different. Like, it really depends on who your boss is. So, like, on Chelsea lately, everything was improv. Like, there was literally no boundaries. We threw out the scripts pretty much always. You know, and then, but I've had other shoots where, like, you have to get the script, and, like, your producers will get mad if, like, they approve something and they're like, well, why'd you go off and you shoot something like that? But on this one, we kind of always made sure to get the script. We would do, you know, once we got the performance right, we would do one more take of the script. And then, you know, when you have somebody like David Spade, you just honestly, you let him riff, and then he makes you look really good because he's funnier than me. And so, you know, he always came up with better stuff than we had written anyway. And so you kind of wanted him to riff. But it really depends on who you're casting, what their background is. If you don't have people who are like improv comedy actors, I would, you know, I probably wouldn't improv, because then there's, you know, you can kind of go off track and you don't necessarily get what you want. But it really depends on, you know, who you're casting and what you want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I want to ask a question. And is that stay there so you guys someone to look at?
Okay.
No.
Okay, sure.
So just along those lines, is that as directing that you prefer? Do you like working in improv? Is that the way you?
I do, because it makes me look good, you know?
Right.
It's no, I do, because I always feel that you get better performances when you're improvising, because it always feels more real. And the actor says it how they would say it, as opposed to the way I think they would say it.
Right.
And it's like, I think on this movie, we probably used half the takes were improv. The tough thing about improv is you got to keep it on track, and you will lose. You got to have more time, because you will lose a lot of takes. And then there's a lot of stuff you can't use because it just doesn't make sense and it went off here, and you don't have an out. The hard thing with improv is you need to make sure you have an out, because the scenes will just get too long. And so if you that's kind of the hard thing with directing improv, is like keeping the actors on track and on topic so that you have your ins and outs.
Excellent. And you do a take from the script. You said you do that, and then you let them go. I like that.
Exactly. And then one thing that we do, which we love, is we usually per scene, we probably write 5 jokes, like alternate jokes. And then we throw them to the actors, as we're shooting, just to see, like, because a lot of times when you write a joke, you don't really know if it's going to work. You think it's going to work, but you never know until you screen it. And so, on most of our scenes, we had 2 or 3 options of a joke. So if we screened it and it didn't work, we tried something else.
Did you have any time for pre-rehearsals?
A little bit. I maybe 2 days. We did a table read, which I highly recommend doing. But yeah, we did a little bit of rehearsals. In comedy, I don't love doing rehearsals, because sometimes the first take's the best. Right. And when the actors start to think about it too much, they like get in their head and they're not as funny. I actually, like, with the younger actors, would tell them it was a rehearsal most of the time and shoot the rehearsal, because a lot of times I felt like they were more natural when they didn't know the cameras were rolling. So that's something that, depending on who your actors are, I like doing that, especially with kids. With the little kid Aiden, we never told him we were rolling, and we'd have everybody away from the cameras. It would just be like us kind of screwing around, which I think kind of helped, because sometimes with kids they get real nervous and they can kind of lock up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Sorry, cutting. Yeah, no problem. There's another person, at least one. So. Oh, I got one.
Hey Tyler, I'm James. I just had kind of a random question, but with working with other studios or distribution or anything like that, has Netflix been different, or was it different at all for you from the other more traditional studios?
Well, I haven't done a movie for anybody else, but Netflix is really cool. They're really hands-off. They give you a lot of creative freedom. So, if you ever get a chance to work with, they're really fantastic. Pretty much once they said yes, they said, listen, make the best movie you can, and they didn't clamp us down. But a lot of studios do, but it really depends on the situation and who's producing it, how much track record they have, and how much But Netflix is really great. They were really awesome to work with, so I hope we get to do it again. But yeah, and they ever, a lot of people who work with them say that they just kind of say, hey, go make the best movie or the best show you can. And I think a lot of times people make better stuff that way, because they get to make their full vision.
Cool, awesome. One last question: with working on writing with a friend, like a co-writer, how do you delegate or decide who writes what, or do you just kind of find that naturally? Or?
Yeah, you got it. I think you got to feel it out with whoever you're writing with. Like with me and Brandon, like I usually tend to write the first draft. Like I'm better at just kind of flushing out what the general ideas are going to be and what the general jokes are going to be, and he's really good at being specific about stuff. So a lot of times, like I would just flush out a scene, and then he would go back, and then I would move on to another scene, and then he goes back and he works on the scene. But you know, really, it really depends. Like, you know, some people switch on and off. Like, you know, really just kind of. I think you got to feel it out with whoever you're writing with. Yeah, what we do is, you know, I usually flush it out first, and then he goes back and, you know, reworks it a little bit. But if you work with somebody forever, you know, then you really just get to know them and you get to know each other's styles. So you could probably just switch on and off different scenes. It really, I guess you kind of got to feel it out.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, no problem.
I got more. So, was your writing partner on set with you?
Oh yeah. He, you know, did a lot of the on-set jokes, and you know, he would come with a different couple. We had 2 on-set writers who would come up with different jokes every day. And what we do is we keep the cameras rolling in the middle of the scene. We just shout lines to them and tell them to say different lines. That's something we kind of stole from Judd Apatow. That's how he does it.
Who? Judd Apatow.
Yeah, that's his method. He's got you know, maybe 3 writers, and they're just shouting things at the actors. Say this, say this, say this. You know. So it's cool. You know, it's a pretty cool way to shoot.
Yeah, it's great. I hadn't heard that. I do have a couple more questions.
Yeah.
One is, you mentioned about your test screenings and how you would rework things from that. Can you talk a little more about that, about like gauging the reactions, and what sort of things did you find weren't working, and what sort of things did you have to change?
Yeah, I mean, well, what we did is we test, you know, we do like a rating system on each character, you know, like a 1 through 5 rating system. You know, like likability, and like there was a couple things in our lead character Ben. I'm trying to remember. There was like one thing that people was kind of bumping people to make him not likable. So we ended up there was like a couple lines that we took out, and then it ended up testing a lot better, which was great. And a lot of it really is like, if a joke falls flat, just try something else. Like, it's just nice to know what's playing and what's not, and that's why we shot a lot of alts, because you know, it's tough to know. You know, I mean, you think you know, but you never really know until you do it. But yeah, the test screenings are really, you know, it's nice to know if people are like, are they happy? Do they want the couple to be together at the end? Like, you know, where are they feeling it's slow? You know, where is it slow? Where is it too fast? You know, where should we take our time? You know, it's just really nice to know what people think. So that's why.
Were there alternate endings that you shot?
No, there was just, I would have probably liked to, but we didn't have any money. We didn't have enough money, but I would have liked to.
Then the last question I had, and we have one last question when I'm done, is did Nat Faxon ever drop the, hey, well, I have an Oscar card?
No, he did not. I brought it up to him once, and he's such a cool, low-key guy, like never brings up anything, down to do, like he literally will do anything. You would never know that the guy's like an Academy Award-winning writer. Right. It's really baffling that he actually did the movie. I'm still kind of shocked. I don't know why he did it, but it was, yeah, he was.
Probably because he thought it'd be fun.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, he's so cool. We were really lucky that he was so cool.
Yeah, he's a talented guy. Okay, one last question.
Cool.
One more? All right.
Yeah, of course.
She's biting at the bit.
Let's do it.
Hello, I'm back. It's
Howard.
okay, wait, am I getting this right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just remembered that dimple, like with the fingers. Was that your idea, or how did like
that was not my idea. That was Brandon's idea. He is just a demented person.
I think it kind of works. I feel like I'd want a guy to try it with me, and I'll tell them that.
Yeah, I don't know. That was all him. Yeah, we were sitting here in this kitchen actually, and he just started doing it to himself. And I'm like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I think it's funny looking. Doesn't it look funny?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "It's funny." I'm like, "All right, let's try it."
Okay, and then the other one is Larry with the woman that like kind of like press charges. Was that like some fantasy, or how did that like storyline like come out?
How did that come up? Let's see. They never, the first, like, that was a last minute thing that never, in like the first 10 drafts, they never hooked up or anything like that. It was just like, one of the producers was just like, hey, you gotta have them hook up. We were like, okay, and it's kind of funny. Like you write a million drafts, and then something just comes in, and becomes a part of the movie, which is kind of weird. But yeah, I guess that's how it happened.
Okay, those are my questions. There's just
no, cool.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Anybody else? Hey, thank you so much for your time.
Guys, no, that was fun.
Great movie. And, when as a film professor, you say certain things over and over again about shooting and just going in and making stuff and networking and all these things. And it sinks in when other people say it. So,
yeah. The only thing I know is that I don't know.
What's that?
The only thing I know is that I don't know.
Every time you say it, you cut out. Say it again.
The only thing I know is that I don't know.
Oh, is that what you don't know, right? Sure. It's Socrates, right?
That's right.
So, all right. Well, thank you so much. And guys, give me another big round of applause. And thanks for taking the time.
Thank you guys so much. It was so much fun. And thanks so much for watching the movie.
All right. And thanks for making a great movie. So,
Oh,
we'll see you.
All right, go to the class.
Bye-bye.